Hi, it's Ashleigh from Sweet Dreams Bake Shop, and today I'm going to be making two of my sister's favorite desserts. It was her birthday the other day and I didn't have a chance to give her gift, so this is going to be a big part of it. Whenever I am making pie crust, I always make sure to use my food processor to get that butter and flour in that kind of pebble-like state. And then I add my water very sparingly and I just mix until combined. While that's chilling in the fridge, because as we know, pie dough needs to stay nice and cold, I am separating my egg whites and my egg yolks. I will use those egg whites for the meringue later on, but I'm reserving the yolks for the lemon curd portion right now. Now, the actual original recipe calls for a few less lemons, I believe, but I just decided to go ahead and use all of these lemons as well as the juice. I really love a nice tart lemon, so I added all of the zest of all of those lemons in. Then go ahead and put your lemon curd on a double boiler, or you can use what I am calling a double boiler, which is basically just a pot of simmering water with a bowl on top. All of the recipes that I'm using today, which incidentally are all from the same source, are going to be down in the description box below. And I did double the recipes because I'm making multiple pies today. Now, the recipe did state that this lemon curd would come together within about 10 minutes, but for me, it did take a little bit longer, so don't fret if your lemon curd is a little bit soupy and it's like that for a little while. With lemon curd, I find that it kind of hits this magical spot, and then all of a sudden, it starts thickening up. So when you feel it's kind of a velvety consistency, it's not going to be super thick, but it is going to be a lot thicker than when it started. I also like to run my lemon curd through a sieve. Reason being is if I didn't separate the egg yolks properly in the first place, then I'll catch all of those little white bits. And also the lemon that I was using did have a lot of those tiny seeds, so I want to eliminate that as well. Then go ahead and mix in your butter, and the heat of the lemon curd coming off of that double boiler is going to melt all of that butter, so don't worry. While that lemon curd is cooling, I'm going to generously butter my pans. Now, honestly, I would have liked to have all three of these be just regular pie pans, but I actually only own one pie pan, so I'm making 3 different types of variations. One of the keys to a perfectly flaky pie crust is to make sure that you don't overwork the dough. So I really try to aim to only roll this out once or twice. Now you'll notice when I'm making this pie here, I do make sure that I indent that pie crust in and then I flip it over and then I leave a little bit of an edge. This is all to avoid shrinkage. Now I've had so many issues with shrinkage anytime I make pie. So I find this is the only way that really works. It's still not perfect, but we are getting there. So you'll notice that I tucked in all of those edges and I actually left it really thick on that outer edge, and then I'm just kind of pinching it and fluting the sides. Then I'm getting my special helper to help me dock the pie, and it's really important that you make sure to dock it really well so that you don't end up with any air bubbles, and sometimes that can cause shrinking too, because in past I've had it where the pie just kind of slides right down that pan. Now when I'm doing it with the tart pan, it's pretty much the same principle, except I don't have to flute any edges, and you will not get as high of a pie crust on there. It will shrink down just a little bit. I'm also making some mini pies as well that are going in this muffin tin. The longer that you chill that crust, the better chance you have of avoiding shrinkage. So while that is chilling in the fridge, I'm going to brown my butter for the next recipe. Now this is also not really part of the recipe, but if you've watched any of my chocolate chip cookie videos before, I love to brown the butter. I just find it adds a really nice, deep caramelized flavor. Now with any cookie recipe, I really never read the instructions anymore on how to make it. Basically, you cream together all of your butters, the peanut butter and the sugars. And I should mention that that brown butter was only cooled down slightly and I just added it directly in because we're going to chill this dough anyway. Then after that's all super whipped up and it's nice and fluffy, go ahead and add in your dry ingredients and only mix until just combined. Then place that in the fridge for about 30 minutes. While that's chilling, I can now take out my pie crusts and I have weighed them down. Now, the only reason I use the pie weights on the right is because I ran out of rice. So for up to me, I would only use rice. After baking the pie crust for 375 degrees Fahrenheit in the oven, I took it out, then took the weights out, and then I'm brushing it with some egg yolk mixed with a little bit of milk, or you can use whipping cream as well. This just helps get the crust really nice and shiny. It spends about 10 to 12 more minutes in the oven at the same temperature. As that's baking, I'm going to get the peanut butter blossom cookies ready. Now, this is one of my sister's favorite things that I have ever made, but I've actually only ever made it for her once in our lives. And this was way back when we were still living at home together, and I made a batch and she ate the whole batch in a span of 2 days. And I just haven't made them since. So I thought, you know what, a decade and more later, I am going to make these for her. Now, they're really, really simple. After it chills in the fridge for about 30 minutes or so, just roll them in some granulated sugar or some sanding sugar, whatever you would like, and then place them on a baking sheet with some parchment. Now, I do spread the cookies out quite a bit, which I really didn't need to. These cookies don't spread a whole lot. After I'd rolled out the cookies and those crusts were done baking and they were cooling, I got started on the meringue. Now, this is the standard meringue recipe that I always use. It's basically just 75 grams of water with 300 grams of granulated sugar. You boil it on the stove, and pretty much as soon as it gets to that 244 degrees Fahrenheit mark, then you start pouring it into the whipping egg whites. Today I used a little bit more than 110 grams of egg whites just because that's what I had on hand and I wanted to use it up. I should also mention that I doubled the recipe today. When those peanut butter blossoms come out of the oven, you basically just press a little chocolate kiss right in the center of it. Now it is finally time to assemble all of my different types of pies, and although this one was in a tart-like pan, it still tastes like pie. It just looks kind of more like a tart. So I'm taking that lemon curd, which I did refrigerate until everything was ready, and you'll notice it is fairly thick, and you really don't need too much of it. It's very tart, it's nice and sweet, so it really punches through. I am creating some roses with my meringue using a petal tip, but honestly, you can just pile this high. You can style it however you would like to. Now I'm moving along to my pie version, which is basically the same thing, and I'm also styling it very, very similarly. Visually, I love looking at the lemon meringue pies when they're not toasted yet. I just find something so beautiful about that bright white meringue. But it is time to toast it, and I do love making it super, super toasty. And this is just a torch. I find it much easier to use the torch than to actually broil it in the oven. So if you do plan on doing this a lot, I highly recommend that you invest in a torch. When I first bought mine, I really didn't think I would use it that much, and now I use it all the time. And just to add a little bit of glamour, some gold flake on top, which I always apply with chopsticks. I find it the easiest to do so. Now let's get this all packaged up. So I like to use a little piece of masking tape whenever I have a cake or something that doesn't actually fit perfectly in the box. And then I like to make sure that everything is packed really, really nice and tight. Now I knew I was going to jam pack this full, so it was fairly easy to make sure that nothing shifted. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you can be part of the Sweetie fam. Right now, I'm uploading weekly, so make sure you hit that notification bell so you know when I upload. Also, be sure to comment, request, or ask a question. I love hearing from you guys. Bye!